and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 2 of my formal zombie portrait for my Inktober week 2 drawing. And in this video we're going to continue adding the details to the zombie with pencil and working on the frame. If you want to follow along traditionally for Inktober, check out part 1 in this series where I have a list of all the traditional supplies that you can use for Inktober. The app that I'm going to be using is Infinite Painter for Android. And here I'm going to continue drawing the details for the zombie. And I'm using the Blackwell pencil. And I just want to kind of go ahead and get the details done really well before I try to ink it. So here I'm just working a little bit on his jacket and his tie and also on the neck area, and I just want to go ahead and keep his clothes looking really fancy and Victorian-like, and just kind of give them not give these real ragged look. I still want him to have like he's all dressed up and everything. And so here I'm just kind of working on his neck area, and I did want to give some scars like on the neck, or some rotting patches of skin, just some little areas where there's scratches and things, because his neck also needs to look like it's decaying and that it has scratches on it. So here I'm just working on the collar of the coat a little bit, and then I want to go ahead and work on the ears. And the ears don't have to be perfect because they're probably going to be falling off or something if he's a zombie, so you might want to take like a chunk off the top of the ear or something and just kind of make it look real ragged looking. And I wanted to put the scars on the face, of course, and some scratches, and make the areas underneath his eyes look sort of dark. And I'm going to keep his eyes white looking because that looks really creepy. So you can also make his eyes look yellow or red like I showed on the app in my part 1 video of this series. And here I'm just trying to draw on his glasses, and I definitely want the glasses because that's part of the formal Victorian look, that he still has his glasses on. And so I'm just drawing in the frame sort of, and I kind of wanted to make them look like they were broken, but then that just sort of interfered with his eyes. You couldn't see his eyes then, so I just went ahead and left that off later on and just made it where maybe there's not even glass in the frames now. He may just like have the frames on or something like that, and there's not even glass in them or something. But I did want him to continue to have the glasses on. And then I'm just sort of working on the beard again. You want it scruffy looking and like it maybe falling out, patches of hair falling out or something, and so it needs to look really untidy. And then I'm working on his nose. His nose might be caved in. The photo reference I'm using, it has a scratch over it, so you can sort of make the nose look like it may be falling off or something. And some of them, the zombies have a skeletal nose, but I thought I would leave a little bit of a nose here and just have it caved in or something like that. And then here I want to go ahead and work on the oval for the frame. And so I'm making the second ring for the frame here, and I'm using the guide in Infinite Painter. And you can adjust it to fit the size that you want there, and how oval you want, how rounded you want. So I just went ahead and added that on there and sort of erased out the coat because I want it to fit inside the frame there. And then I'm just kind of working on the glasses again. I decided that I would erase out where his eyes are because it wasn't showing very clearly there. So I went ahead and worked a little bit more on the hat. I wanted to bring the brim down just a little bit more curved, but show the ribbon of his hat a little, because that just makes it look more fancy and Victorian, because those kind of hats had a ribbon around the hat band there. And so I'm just kind of working on adjusting the shape of the hat there. And again, I want it to be in good shape because I want him to look all dressed up and fancy with his clothes. And so I'm just kind of working around on the beard and a little bit more on his neck, and just kind of refining the shapes just a little bit more there. Just trying to get a real detailed final drawing before you start with the inking, because you want to get it pretty much all drawn out before you start with the inking, because of course when you mess up with the ink, it's hard to correct. So here I'm just kind of trying to make his eyes look white there. So I went back in and just kind of erased that out, and that's why you want to work in pencil, so you can go back and do some things, because right now nothing is written in stone and you can always correct it very easily with pencil. So you definitely want to get all this worked out before you put on your ink. And then I want to work on the frame a little bit here, and I'm trying to just kind of work on the oval a little bit. And I thought I might not want the lines to be so thick, so I kind of went back and drew over them again, but I decided that it looked better with the thick line, because that just sort of accentuates the frame and gives it sort of a three-dimensional look for the picture frame there. And so I'm just kind of working on it, correcting it a little bit, and then I want to add the fancy ornate decorations on the outside. And so what I wanted to do is use the symmetry tool, because it saves a lot of time, and you can just do one side, make sure that you get it positioned in the center, and then you can just do one side, and you don't have to do the decoration again on the other side. Now if you're following along traditionally, you will, or you can just trace over that one side and flip it over and do it on the opposite side there. If you want to use tracing paper and that kind of thing, you can do it that way, or if you just want to draw it freehand, you can. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to do here, and so I'm trying to get sort of the fancy leaf-like pattern and all the curly cues that it has on it. I didn't have to be exactly like the original frame, but I just kind of wanted to get an idea of sort of a fancy, ornate, Victorian looking style frame here. And so I'm just kind of adding all the curly cues, and then I put a funny skull on the bottom. I decided I wanted it to look kind of cartoony, like, because we're sort of making fun of the formal portrait here, you know. I mean, a zombie having a formal portrait. We're trying to be a little bit whimsical here, so I wanted to make funny cartoon skulls, kind of like what they have in the Hall of Portraits at the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And so I'm just kind of working on the whimsical look of it. And then I wanted to add sort of a leaf-like pattern to the edge of this portrait, just to make it look real fancy, but it's just sort of designs. It's not real big detail or anything. It's just kind of like little leaf designs. And so I'm just kind of drawing those along the edge here. And I decided that it looked pretty good with the really dark oval look there. And so then I'm working on the final curly cues and just adding a little bit fancier look to the top of the portrait, because it's sort of that way in my photo reference. So I just wanted to give it another leaf pattern, and then I wanted to do another face on the top, and I thought I might make it more like a mask, kind of like maybe the Phantom of the Opera with bat wings coming out or something like that. And so I worked on the face, and I thought, well, maybe I could make it a happy face, and then I decided that I would just do like a oval, like it might be the open mouth look. And I could have left the happy face on there, and that might have made it look a little more whimsical, but I just went for the open mouth look there, and kind of a skeletal looking nose. We just kind of want sort of a Phantom of the Opera vibe there for the mask on the top. And so I just left it like that, and then I went ahead and just kind of worked on the curly cues a little bit more, refining them and making them look a little bit fancier, and just trying to get that ornate, fancy, high society type look to this portrait and to the portrait frame, because we want to make it look like it's high society and he's a really rich zombie, or was a really rich person before he got turned into a zombie or something like that. And anyway, so that's the end of part 2 of my formal zombie portrait. And in part 3, we're going to go ahead and add the color washes. So if you're interested in that, then hit the subscribe button. And thanks everybody for watching, and thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.